English literature learners. Introduction to Poetry. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? By William Shakespeare. Short questions with answers. Question 1. Define a Shakespearean sonnet or define an English sonnet. Answer. A Shakespearean sonnet is called an English sonnet. It is a kind of short lyric poem of 14 iambic pentameter lines linked by an intricate rhyme scheme. The regular beat of unaccented and accented syllables in each foot of the lines imparts internal rhythm. It rhymes as AB AB, CD CD, EF EF GG. As its rhyme scheme indicates, a Shakespearean sonnet is divided into 3 quatrains followed by a couplet. The 14 lines of Sonnet 18 are also arranged in 3 quatrains and a couplet. The beauty of the friend concerned has been introduced through a comparison in the first 4 lines. In the second and third quatrains, the idea has been developed through contrast. The concluding 2 lines make a comment on what has already been said about the friend's immortal beauty. Question 2. What is the significance of the use of an apostrophe in the beginning of the Sonnet 18? The use of the apostrophe at the beginning of Sonnet 18 has given the poet some definite advantages. It is a poetic technique by which the speaker has separated himself from the person addressed in the poem. Then the poet expanded the apostrophe in the rest of the poem. He addresses him as thou in the second line, thy in the 9th line, again thou in 10th, 11th and 12th lines, and finally thee at the end of the last line. This expansion of the apostrophe by recurrent addresses also helps the poet build a bond between the speaker and the young man addressed. Thus, the use of apostrophe helps the poet ensure the separate entities of the speaker and the addressee and also build a bond between them. Question 3. How has the poet raised Sonnet 18 to the level of a piece of classic poetry? Answer. A classic poem deals with eternal issues in grand language. The poet has used a few universal elements in grand language in Sonnet 18. The negative aspects of the summer do not change. They are universal. The weather in summer is not stable. It sometimes destroys plants and flowers. During the season, the sky is often overcast by or with clouds, which bar sunshine. All these are universal. Then the line "and every fair from fair sometime declines" refers to the universal law of nature that every fair thing is subject to lose its beauty. The poet's effort to immortalize the young man in poetry is also another universal aspect of the poem. Finally, the use of archaic words, thee, thou, thy, hath, onst, wonderst, growth, contribute a classical quality to the poem because this type of words have imparted grandness to the Bible. So the unchangeable qualities of summer, immortalization of the fair youth, and the grand language of the poem have raised Sonnet 18 to the level of a classic poem. Question 4. Find out the elements of a lyric in Sonnet 18. Answer. Sonnet 18 is primarily a lyric poem. In other words, there are elements of musical composition in it. Shakespeare has added lyrical elements to this poem in different ways. The main element of lyric poetry has been achieved by the rhyme scheme of the poem. Its rhyme scheme A B A B C D C D E F E F G G adds a musical resonance to the total structure of the poem. The strict use of iambic pentameter in each line controls these harmonious measures and imparts musical sound structures. The use of alliteration in more lovely and more and fair from fair also enhance the musical effect. The anaphora, so long at the beginning of the last two lines, further contributes to the musical quality of the poem. The lucid diction further contributes to the musical effect of the poem. So the poet has used several elements which have made Sonnet 18 a lyric poem. Question 5. What negative qualities of summer do you find in Sonnet 18? Answer. The speaker poses a comparison between the fairy and summer, but finally finds out that summer is not comparable to the fairy because the summer has several negative qualities. Summer is not stable, it changes unpredictably. Rough winds blow during summer and blooming flowers are destroyed. Then summer is temporal. Its time spent is very short. Sometimes in summer, the sun becomes very hot and gives out a scorching heat. Moreover, in summer, sometimes the sky is overcast with or by clouds, and sunshine does not reach earth. After pointing out all these negative qualities of summer, the speaker comes to the conclusion that everything in summer is subject to change. So it is natural that the summer, being a natural phenomenon, is subject to change. Thus, the several negative aspects of summer have been pointed out in the first quatrains of Sonnet 18. Question 6. How has the speaker made the young man immortal? Answer. The speaker has immortalized the young man, endowing him with the eternal life of poetry. At the beginning of the poem, the speaker poses a comparison between thee and the young man, the summer, but soon finds that the comparison is not feasible because summer is unstable. It changes unpredictably. It is temporal. Its time spent is very short. Moreover, it is subject to change by the law of nature. But the young man possesses eternal summer, which means everlasting youth. The speaker boldly asserts that death cannot kill him. The speaker explains that the young man grows in the lines of eternal poetry for which he is not subject to biological law of change and death. Finally, the speaker very confidently says that as long as human civilization continues to exist and man reads the poem, the young man will continue to live. Thus, the speaker makes him immortal through the lines of the sonnet. Question 7. Comment on the rhyme scheme of Sonnet 18. Answer. The rhyme scheme of Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, or in English sonnet, is A B A B C D C D E F E F G G. The sonnet's structure consists of 3 quatrains and 1 couplet. The first 2 quatrains present 3 themes of mutability, and the third quatrain contradicts it by asserting immortality. The great enemy of human being, time, is one of the focus of all the 3 quatrains. The rhyme scheme of 1 quatrain separates it from the rest. In other words, the end rhyme of the 4th line V has not been repeated in the 2nd quatrain, or the end rhyme of the 8th line D has not been repeated in the 3rd line. But the rhyme pattern has been repeated in every quatrain, 1st line and 3rd line, and the 2nd line and 4th line, and with the same sound. In Sonnet 18, this continuation of sound pattern matches the continuation of the image of inimical time. The couplet at the end, rhyming GG, resonates endlessly even after reading the poem, signifying immortality. Question 8. List the contracted words in Sonnet 18. and say why they have been contracted. Answer. There are 5 contracted words in Sonnet 18. They are dimmed, untrimmed, ost, wondrous, and grossed. Shakespeare contracted them to keep the measure equal in comparison. Each of the lines of the sonnet consists of the 5 iambic feet or 10 syllables accented alternatively. In other words, the lines are in iambic pentameter. If the poet had used these words without contraction, there would have been 11 syllables in the lines they occurred. For example, dimmed occurred in the line and of Chinese this gold complexion dimmed. Had the poet not contracted him dimmed, there would have been 11 syllables, and of Chinese his gold complexion dimmed. In that case, the ease and facility of the sound would have been affected. To avoid that problem, the poet has contracted dimmed. Similarly, the poet has contracted untrimmed, ost, wondrous, and grossed to ensure perfection in the composition, avoiding the disharmonious syllables. Thank you, viewers, for watching.